Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Hindu analysis on Byjus exam prep IAS. Welcome to the Hindu analysis for 13 June 2024. Let us look at the articles that we have for the day. There was one article on the data point. Lok Sabha has lowest share of Muslim MPs in 6 decades. We shall be looking into this, that how the numbers of the Muslim MPs as far as the Lok Sabha has come down to 24 out of 543 MPs. Number 2, shock as Indians die in distant battlefields. Number 3, tackling the fatty liver disease epidemic. 4th PM to attend G7 outreach in Italy. All eyes on possible interaction with Zelenskyy and Trudeau. So we shall look into a topic of IR, and this would be news for the next few days. Of course, fatty liver disease epidemic, will look into how this is a very, very important problem and a very severe problem. Apart from that, Indians dying in distant battlefields in Russia. We had covered this article in the month of February and March also, and again some deaths have happened, and Indian government is very, very angry, very unhappy with the way our people are dying, and we are asking Russian authorities to send our people as early as possible. Apart from this, 2 more prelim bites. Elephants call each other by name, study suggests. And number 2, study ranks India second in nitrous oxide emissions. These are very small topics, but then 1 or 2 points we have to remember for prelims over here. Let us look at the article. The first one, Lok Sabha has the lowest share of Muslim MPs in 6 decades. Trust me, if you don't read the entire article, and if you just remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 points, this is more than sufficient. If tomorrow you have any question on the representation of MPs on the basis of their gender, on the basis of their, I would say, religion, caste, something out of that, this would be really, really helpful. So the most important point that comes out of this is that the present 18th Lok Sabha has the lowest share of Muslim MPs in 6 decades. So the present Lok Sabha had only 4.4% of MPs. That is, overall only 24 MPs come from the Muslim community out of the 543 MPs. So the Muslims, their number in India is around 15%, but when it comes to their representation in Lok Sabha, it is only 4.4%. What it is being said is this is a record low. Never ever in our history the Muslim representation has been so less ever. So that's the important point that is being raised over here. The most important point, BJP, which is the most important party in the NDA, has 0 Muslim MP. They do not have representatives from Muslim community at present. In fact, a few days ago I was reading another article, I thought that had come in Hindustan Times or somewhere. It says that BJP does not have a Sikh representative in Lok Sabha, a Christian representative in Lok Sabha. They do have a Buddhist MP, Mr. Kiran Rijiju, who is our minister, but then they don't have any Sikh, any Christian or any Muslim MP as far as the Lok Sabha is concerned. But then you can check these two. I read it somewhere, but you should check it. But then according to Hindu, 0 Muslim MPs as far as the BJP is concerned. In fact, somewhere it was mentioned even the entire NDA does not have a single Muslim MP, and that's why even in this time's Union Council of Ministers, there is no representation of Muslims over there. Now, that is about this. Historically, the highest Muslim representation in Lok Sabha has been at 8.3% when it comes to 7th as well as the 8th Lok Sabhas. So you can understand, even historically, the Muslim representation in Lok Sabha has not even touched 10%. So their numbers might be around 15%, but their numbers have not even reached 10%. Even in the UPA, before NDA, that is during Manmohan Singh era, these numbers were around 7% in the 14th Lok Sabha. But then after that, this has only gone down. If you look at the present day party-wise representation of Muslims, the highest number of Muslim representation comes from Congress. Congress had altogether 7 Muslim MPs. After that, the highest was 5 MPs from Trinamool Congress, 4 from Samajwadi Party, 3 from Indian Union Muslim League, 2 from National Conference, 1 from MIM, and there were 2 independents. So you can see here 7 plus 5, 12 plus 4, 16, 3, 19, 2, 21, 1, 22, and 2, 24. So this is the the breakup of the 24 Muslim MPs as far as the country is concerned. Another important this thing, only 10 states and UTs have 1 MP in the Lok Sabha. So if we have 28 states and 8 union territory out of these 36, only 11 have got a Muslim MP. Lastly, BSP was the party which fielded the maximum number of Muslim candidates, that is around 35, but as you all know, BSP won 0 seat, so 0 Muslim candidates won from BSP. So again, do not go into much more depth than this. This is more than sufficient. These are 4-5 points that if you remember, this is more than sufficient. If tomorrow in mains you have to write any answer, and if in any other place also you have to talk about the minority, you can add this thing. So you can see here is the representation of the political parties, and then chart 4 you can see talks about the states and what is the representation of the Muslims over there. So this is the thing with regards to your first topic. Not very important, but then if you remember 1 or 2, 3, 4 facts out of this, it will help you in writing some of the answers specifically in paper 2. Moving ahead. Second topic, as you can see, Indians are dying in distant battlefields, and this time where we have died, there have been 2 deaths in the ongoing Ukraine conflict. And as I said, India is very, very unhappy. Indian government is very unhappy. We have taken a stern view of Russian's army continued recruitment of Indian nationals for this conflict, and we are clearly saying it is not in consonance with the Indian-Russian partnership. This death of 2 Indian nationals has clearly upset our government, and our government is asking that there should be an early release and return of all the Indians who are serving the Russian army. So whatever the circumstances they might be working, whatever the circumstances in which they would have gone over there, they might have been duped, might have been induced, some would have been given some money or whatever is the circumstance, government is clearly saying release them, send them back, because a lot of them, they have been illegally recruited by middlemen, who have been taking Indians for jobs in Russia. So Indian government is also trying to stop all that. In this article, there is a case given about a resident who had gone to Thailand, and from Thailand had gone to Russia on a tourist visa. And there he started working for the Russian army and he died. So such things, is being mentioned over here, and Indian government is saying that, see, we are trying to halt all the illegal recruitments that they are taking place through the middlemen, and we are trying to stop them to go to Russia. You can see here a story is mentioned about a resident Tejpal, resident of Amritsar, who had gone to Thailand on December 28, 2023, and from there had gone to Russia, started working for the Russian army, and such things have happened. Similarly, as I said, we have studied this topic earlier also. 2 deaths had taken place earlier. One was a resident of Gujarat, another a resident of Hyderabad. Their bodies have also been brought back on 16th March, but then this is very, very unfortunate. As you can see, a lot of these people, they go there because they are promised a very good salary of around 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees per month. And they are also given the option to go for the Russian citizenship after a year. So almost, going for these inducements, there are around 100 Indians who have been hired and they are working over there. So out of these 100, 30 of the Indians have contacted the Ministry of External Affairs and the Indian Embassy in Moscow, and they are seeking help so that they could return back to India. So again, in paper 2, under the topic of Indian diaspora, please make it a point, remember it. And in fact, yesterday only there was one other article also. I have not covered it today. Just wanted to tell that these articles, like, what is happening in Russia, or for example, yesterday what happened in Kuwait, where almost 40 of our workers, they died in a, incident in which a building had caught fire. So such points you can remember as examples for any answer that you are writing on Indian diaspora, the tough conditions, the problems that we face when we go outside. So these are two very good examples for them. Moving ahead, let us talk about the third topic, tackling the fatty liver disease epidemic, written by Mr. Murugan N., Senior Consultant Hepatologist, Apollo Hospitals, Chennai, and Akash Roy, Senior Hepatologist, Apollo Hospitals, Kolkata. These two people have written this. Now, why is it in news? First line, please remember. The theme for International Fatty Liver Day this year, an awareness initiative observed annually in June, is Act Now, Screen Today. Because you will see in this article when we'll speak about this, they say that the liver problems, they are not discovered initially, but later they become very, very big problems. So they say liver diseases were predominantly associated with excessive alcohol use, and this remains an important cause of advanced chronic liver disease. So, you might have studied or known about cirrhosis. It's a complication of liver disease that involves the loss of liver cells and irreversible scarring of the liver. Similarly, there is another disease also mentioned, that's it's here, steatohepatitis. Sorry. So this is also characterized by inflammation of liver, where there is an accumulation of fat on liver, and this is referred as steatosis and or steatohepatitis. So this is the different problems faced by the liver. So what happens is that we know that a lot of fatty livers, they get associated with metabolic health, cardiac health, risk for developing cancers also. And this has now been appropriately reclassified and is known as metabolic dysfunction associated steatotic liver disease, MASLD. So this MASH, also known as metabolic dysfunction associated steatohepatitis, is a progressive form that causes liver inflammation and scarring, expected to become the most common cause of chronic liver disease and leading indication for liver transplantation. So people have to go for this. So the answer to this all problems, they say in this article, is that screen today. Because if you screen early, one can detect these problems as early as possible. For example, this MASH, globally, its prevalence is around 25 to 30%. In 2022, an analysis said that among adults in India, 39% people were affected by this. And amongst the obese children, around 36% were affected by MASH. So I've given you some more, this thing. So as I said, one has to go for screening as early as possible. So a comprehensive health screening that includes a thorough history, physical examination, blood tests, ultrasound of the abdomen. Apart from that, physical examination will include height, weight, body mass index, abdominal girth, the waist to hip ratio to assess visceral fat, again important marker of metabolic health. Blood tests so that to cover the cardio-metabolic risk factors including blood count, sugar profile, blood lipid profile, LFT and KFT. Similarly, liver, they say, is a silent organ that typically does not exhibit noticeable signs of damage until it has reached an advanced stage. So clearly, what they are saying is that these fatty liver diseases and metabolic syndrome have a very, very close link. What are these metabolic syndrome? So if somebody is obese, somebody is suffering from diabetes, has blood pressure, had abnormal cholesterol levels, all these can affect people. And these conditions, the MASLD prevalence rate, they increase. For example, somebody who has diabetes has a chance of almost 55 to 60% suffering from MASLD. Similarly, if somebody is having obesity, chances are 65 to 95%. Similarly, for severe metabolic syndrome, chances are they would be, suffering from 73% your fatty liver disease. And in all this, what contributes? This carbohydrate. Excess contribution or excess consumption of carbohydrate. Specifically, if you are having refined carbs in the form of, let's say, bread or cakes, in that form, sugar, all this worsens the condition. So the writers, they are saying that if we go ahead and do this, we can detect the problems earlier and can take action on this. So they have given some numbers also from Apollo hospitals. They say that around 50,000 people were screened and almost 33% of them had fatty liver when the ultrasound had taken place on them. So they are talking about that personalization is the key here. Do the early screening, and the frequency at this is done should be according to the personal needs, and this should happen because, again repeating, liver being a silent organ, it typically does not exhibit this noticeable signs of damage. Now please remember, Indian government is also working a lot to stop this problem. So for example, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, they have launched guidelines for the integration of NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And this is being integrated with NPCDCS, National Program for Prevention and Control of Cancer, Diabetes, Cardiovascular diseases and stroke. So this NPCDCS is being managed under National Health Mission, launched in 2010 to control the non-communicable diseases. So this is going on. Moving ahead. Page 13, PM to attend G7 outreach in Italy. All eyes on possible interaction with Zelenskyy. So you can see our Prime Minister is going to attend the G7 outreach in Italy. In Italy, it's going to happen in Apulia region where this is going to happen. So apart from the regular G7 countries, who are these? France, Germany, Japan, UK, US, EU, and Canada. 13 other countries you can see here. Algeria 1, Argentina 2, Brazil 3, Egypt 4, Kenya 5, Mauritania 6, 7 Saudi Arabia, 8 Africa, South Africa of course, 9 Tunisia, 10 Turkey, 11th UAE, and of course India too. We all have been, meeting here, and there would be talks. Apart from these, Ukrainian president is also expected to be here, where there is a chance that our prime minister would be meeting him. So Mr. Modi, after winning the third term, is going over there, but he would be meeting some of the leaders like Rishi Sunak, who is going to face elections in the next month. Similarly, Joe Biden going to face the elections in November. France, Mr. Macron, where the European Parliament, Italy, Germany, everywhere, there were polls on Sunday. So, different countries coming up with different conditions. And India has been invited for this outreach meet for the 11th time. And out of these 11th time, this is the 5th time Mr. Modi is going to participate. So he will be taking participation on special sessions to discuss artificial intelligence, energy, Africa, and also the Mediterranean. That means clearly the talks would be there on Israel-Palestine as well as your Russia-Ukraine war. Now, we have already talked about this, that with regards to Ukraine, Switzerland is organizing a peace summit, and most of the leaders, they would be going towards the peace summit. So it's mentioned clearly, except Mr. Biden, everybody would travel from here to the Swiss town of Bergenstock for the peace conference on Ukraine. But then, as far as India is concerned, we are yet not decided under what capacity are we going to attend this peace conference. Whether Mr. Modi will go or somebody else will represent India, nobody knows exactly. Apart from this, in this article, two more issues is mentioned. One, the statue of Mahatma Gandhi was defaced in Italy, where it was to be inaugurated in the town of Brindisi, which is not far from the G7 venue. But the Italian authorities took cognizance of the matter and resolved it very, very earlier. Other than that, the big issue is the talks with Canada, specifically on the issue of Khalistan, where Canadian authorities have been directly or indirectly been supporting the Khalistani activism for a very, very long period of time. And Indian government is clearly saying that this is deplorable. This is totally wrong, and they need to look into this. So a lot of things to talk for Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, and of course he would be also meeting the Italian Prime Minister, Miss Giorgia Meloni over there. So all this is on the agenda, and of course it would be news for the next few days. Let us see what all comes from there. Apart from this, two prelims topics, not that important, but those who have seen the movie Hathi Ke Sathi, Hathi Mere Sathi, sorry. It shows, or it says, this article says that elephants call each other by name. Study suggests. So maybe the movie makers were far ahead of their time. The researchers are analyzing vocalizations, mostly rumbles generated by elephant using their vocal cords, similar to how people speak. And this analysis is being done for almost 100 elephants in Amboseli National Park and Samburu National Reserves. So over the years, a lot of researchers, they have studied these elephants, and they had believed that there is some sort of vocalization. And a new study which has been done in the savannas of Kenya, they support this idea that the elephants communicate with each other by addressing each other by some sort of name. Now, see, in this much what you are seeing here is mentioned till here. After that, they have written about the method. If you read on your own also, I don't think there would be anything that can be asked here. They have specifically talked about that they used a machine learning model. They played audio for around 17 elephants to test how they respond to calls and all, and then they made all these findings. This finding was, published in the journal Nature, Ecology and evolution. Now, apart from this, some important aspects that can be important for our exam is elephants are the planet's largest land animals, highly intelligent, known for keen memory, their problem-solving skills and sophisticated communication. Previous research have already shown that they engage in complicated behavior, visual, acoustic and tactile gestures when they greet each other. And now we are saying that they address each other by name also, perhaps. This is the crux of this study. And they have also raised a question, why do they do this? Why do they address each other by name? And this article, it is written, they don't know this exactly right now. But then they are saying definitely they use this, nomenclature or naming. Last topic for the day. Study ranks India second in nitrous oxide emissions. So N2O. We are the second one. Of course, the first is China, which is emitting almost 16% of the world's N2O, whereas India is emitting 11%. So we are the world's second largest source of nitrous oxide N2O, which is a greenhouse gas that heats up the atmosphere far more than the carbon dioxide. The major source of this emission comes from fertilizer uses. Apart from this, agricultural production use, as I said, nitrogen fertilizer like ammonia, animal manure. All this contributes to almost 74% of the total anthropogenic N2O emissions in the last decade. They are saying, this article says that the N2O emissions specifically from human activity is responsible for around 6.4% of the total effective radioactive forcing of greenhouse gases, which adds almost 0.1 degrees Celsius to the current global warming. So N2O, something which affects the whole world. This greenhouse gas affects everyone. And the article says that the emissions have been continuously increasing. From human activities, the emission has increased by almost 40%, around 3 million metric tons of N2O per year in the last 4 decades, with growth rates between 2000 to 2022 higher than 1980, from when the measurements had begun. So clearly, the time has come that the authorities should look into this and should try to control the N2O emissions. You can see one picture is given of Taj Mahal. Monumental change. The Taj Mahal on clear day after rain washed away pollution in Agra, because on days when the pollution is very high, Taj Mahal is not clearly visible also. So just remember some facts. What are the sources of N2O? This can be very, very important as a question. How it affects the climate change, and how India is the second largest source of N2O as far as the world is concerned. Moving ahead, today, as you could see, there were not many topics on which there could be mains question. I have formed one. Explain the importance of the G7 outreach meet initiated by G7, and also explain India's special role in it. You can attempt this question, 250 words, 15 marker. That's all from today's session. Again, we shall meet tomorrow for another topic, another article. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.